The human expeditionary ship Aurora's Spear descended through the atmosphere of Kana 3, a planet that shimmered with a blend of natural beauty and the mystery of an ancient past. Commander Ryle stood at the bridge, his sharp eyes locked on the visuals from the surface. Forests stretched as far as the eye could see, with strange, towering ruins peeking through the greenery. "We're clear for landing, Commander," said his chief officer, Lieutenant Varin. Ryle nodded, his mind already racing. The mission was straightforward. Establish a research colony on Kana 3, survey its resources, and understand the remnants of the civilization that had once thrived here. But Ryle had learned long ago that no mission ever remains simple for long. In the science lab, Ilara Finn worked at her station, monitoring the data streaming in from the planet's surface. The readings were unlike anything she had ever seen. The ruins below weren't just ancient, they were incredibly advanced, more than any species humanity had encountered before. "Commander, there's something strange," Ilara's voice crackled over the comms. "What is it, Finn?" "These structures, they're not just old. They're layered with some kind of energy signature, something I can't fully decode yet." Ryle frowned. "Send a team to investigate as soon as we land." As the ship touched down, the ground crew scrambled into action, deploying vehicles and setting up base camps. Ryle stepped off the ship and felt the weight of Kana 3's atmosphere press down on him, thick and humid, but full of life. He had been to dozens of planets, but something about this one felt different, and it wasn't just the ruins. Hours into their exploration, the humans found what they were looking for: an enormous, crumbling tower with markings that resembled a forgotten language. Ilara was there with her scanning equipment, trying to make sense of the carvings. "Commander, you're going to want to see this," Ilara called out. Ryle approached, his eyes narrowing at the symbols. "Any idea what it says?" Ilara shook her head. "Not yet, but I've seen patterns like this before in other alien cultures. It's a warning of some sort. Maybe about the ruins, maybe something more." Before Ryle could respond, the ground shook, and a blinding light exploded from the skies. It was followed by a deep, resonating voice that boomed in a language they all understood. "Leave this place, humans, or face the wrath of the Varick Soul." Ryle's hand instinctively went to his sidearm, though he knew it would be useless against whatever was watching them from above. Ilara's face went pale. "That's no simple message," she whispered. "That's a direct threat." The transmission ended as suddenly as it had begun, and the air fell silent. Ryle's mind raced. The Varick Soul, a species humanity had encountered only in legends and fragmented reports, were believed to be one of the most advanced and elusive races in the galaxy. "Ilara, get me everything you know about the Varick Soul. I want a full analysis of that message." She nodded, her fingers flying over her console. "I'll get right on it. But Commander, if the Varick Soul are real, this could get dangerous. Fast." Ryle's gaze hardened. It already has. Back at the base camp, the tension was palpable. Every member of the expeditionary force could feel it in the air, the weight of an unseen enemy. Ryle gathered his officers in the command tent for an urgent meeting. "We've been warned off," Ryle said, pacing before the assembled group. "The Varick will claim this planet is off-limits to us, but we're here to stay." "Sir," Lieutenant Varin interrupted, "the Varick Soul are more advanced than anything we've encountered before. If they see us as a threat, we'd be risking everything." Ryle's jaw clenched. He knew Varin was right, but there was something deeper at play. "Our orders are clear. We're here to explore and establish a foothold. We can't run at the first sign of trouble. Besides, we don't know what the Varick Soul are really after." Ilara chimed in. "I've been decoding more of the ruins. There's something here the Varick Soul want to keep hidden. The energy readings from the structures, they're not just ancient, they're alive in a way. Like they're connected to something, or someone." Before Ryle could respond, another transmission came through, but this time it wasn't a voice. It was a visual, a towering figure with black, shimmering armor, eyes glowing like molten stars. This was General Thalrock of the Varak Sul. Humans, Thalrock's voice rumbled. Your presence here threatens the balance of the galaxy. You must leave or face annihilation. Ryle didn't flinch. We don't take kindly to threats. This planet is unclaimed, and we have a right to be here. Thalrock's eyes narrowed. Fools, you do not understand what you are meddling with. This place is sacred, a monument to a war long forgotten. Your ignorance will awaken forces beyond your comprehension. Sacred to whom? Ryle pressed. What war are you talking about? Thalrock's image flickered. The war that nearly ended the galaxy. One fought by the ancients, and one that could begin again if you continue. Elara stepped forward. What are you trying to hide from us? Thalrock's gaze shifted to her, a cold and calculating look. I am not hiding anything. I am trying to protect you from yourselves. Leave now, or you will doom us all. The transmission cut off. Ryle turned to Elara and Varin, his expression grim. Looks like we're in deeper than we thought. We can't just pack up and leave, Commander, Elara said, her voice resolute. There's something here, something important. We need to find out what it is. Ryle nodded. Agreed. But we also need to prepare for a fight. Get the defenses online. We'll show them why humanity doesn't back down. 2 days passed, and the human base on Kana 3 became a hive of activity. Defensive turrets lined the perimeter, and patrols of armed soldiers were ready for any potential attack from the Varak Sul. Tensions ran high, but Commander Ryle maintained an air of calm leadership, even as the strange energy readings from the ruins grew stronger. Elara Finn, deep within her research tent, was poring over ancient inscriptions, her brow furrowed. She had found something troubling, a warning etched into the stone walls of the massive tower they had discovered. It wasn't just a symbol of the ancient civilization, it was a beacon. Elara, Ryle's voice came through the comm. Any progress on those translations? She took a deep breath. Commander, this place isn't just a ruin. It's a control center for an ancient weapon, something that once ravaged this part of the galaxy. I think the Varak Sul are trying to stop us from waking it up. Waking it up? Ryle's voice held a trace of disbelief. How do you know that? I found a series of carvings depicting a weapon of unimaginable power, built to end an intergalactic war. If we mess with it, we could activate it. Before Ryle could respond, the ground beneath them rumbled, and a low hum began to resonate through the air. Elara's eyes widened in horror. The readings on her equipment spiked, off the charts. Something was stirring beneath the planet's surface. Commander, we've got a problem, Elara whispered, her heart racing. It's waking up. Ryle's voice was tense. Get back to base. Now. Elara grabbed her gear and sprinted out of the tent, just as a column of blinding light shot up from the ancient tower, illuminating the sky. The air crackled with energy, and the ground shook violently. At the same time, a fleet of Varak Sul ships descended through the clouds, their sleek forms cutting through the atmosphere. General Thalrock's voice boomed over the comms, echoing through the human encampment. You've doomed us all, humans. The weapon has been awakened. Ryle gritted his teeth, watching from the command center as the Varak Sul fleet positioned themselves above the ancient tower. Thalrock, if we work together, we can shut this thing down. Thalrock's holographic image appeared again in the center of the command room. You have no idea what you've done. That weapon will target everything, human, Varak Sul, it doesn't matter. It was designed to end civilizations. Ryle stared back, unflinching. Then help us stop it. For a moment, Thalrock said nothing, his eyes scanning the human forces. Finally, he spoke. Very well, human. But understand this, if we fail, your people will be the first to fall. The battlefield was no longer just between humans and Varak Sul. It was now a race against time to stop the ancient weapon from obliterating them all. Commander Ryle and General Thalrock stood side by side, two leaders from opposing species, forced into a fragile alliance. Ilara, what do we need to do? Ryle asked, watching as the energy from the tower continued to surge. Ilara, working quickly at her console, explained, the weapon is controlled by a system embedded deep within the ruins. We need to shut it down from the inside, but the defenses around the core are still active. We'll have to disable them first. Thalrock, his face grim, added, the defenses were designed to repel any intruder, no matter how advanced. It will take more than just firepower to get through. Ryle's mind raced. Our engineers have been working on adapting the technology from the ruins. If we can find a way to combine our tech with yours, we might have a chance. Thalrock regarded Ryle with a wary expression. You're suggesting we share our most guarded technologies with you. I was right to call your kind arrogant. Ryle met his gaze. Call us what you want. But if we don't work together, neither of us is leaving this planet alive. Thalrock stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. My engineers will coordinate with yours. As the humans and Varexel began working together, combining their knowledge and technology, a plan began to form. The ancient weapons core was located deep beneath the planet's surface, protected by layers of energy shields and automated defense systems. To reach it, they would need to disable the defenses while avoiding the weapon's active targeting system, which was designed to eliminate any life form it detected. The first step was to deactivate the energy shields, which required infiltrating a heavily fortified control center within the ruins. Ryle and Thalrock decided to lead a joint strike team, combining their best soldiers and engineers for the mission. The stakes had never been higher. As they prepared to embark on the mission, Ryle approached Thalrock. You've fought these kinds of battles before, haven't you? Thalrock gave a slight nod. We've encountered remnants of this ancient war on other worlds. Always, we've been too late to stop the destruction. This time must be different. It will be, Ryle said, his voice resolute. We won't let this weapon wipe us out. The strike team moved swiftly through the ruins, weaving through corridors filled with traps and ancient machines. Ilara guided them remotely, using her knowledge of the alien systems to keep the team one step ahead of the defenses. But just as they reached the control center, they were ambushed by a rogue Varexel faction, those who believed humanity was the true threat to the galaxy. Led by a fanatical Varexel officer named Kothar, they sought to stop the Alliance and let the weapon eliminate the humans. We should have destroyed you when we had the chance, Kothar snarled, leveling his weapon at Ryle. Thalrock stepped forward. Stand down, Kothar. This isn't the way. The humans will bring ruin to us all, Kothar roared. They must be eradicated. Before he could fire, Ryle acted on instinct, knocking the weapon from Kothar's hand and disarming him in one swift motion. The room fell silent as Ryle stood over the fallen officer. We don't have time for this, Ryle growled. If we don't shut down that weapon, we're all dead. Thalrock stepped forward, his eyes cold. You've disgraced our people, Kothar. You'll answer for this, if we survive. The strike team pressed on, finally reaching the core control room. Ilara's voice came through the comms. You've got about 10 minutes before the weapon's fully charged. You need to deactivate it now. Ryle and Thalrock exchanged a glance. Let's end this, Ryle said, as they moved toward the controls, ready to shut down the weapon and save both their people. The core control room of the ancient weapon was a massive chamber, filled with strange, glowing technology that hummed with an energy so intense it made the air feel electric. Commander Ryle and General Thalrock stood at the control console, staring at the complex interface. Ancient symbols flickered across the screen, and the countdown timer was ticking down faster than they had anticipated. We're running out of time, Ilara's voice echoed through Ryle's earpiece. That thing's about to go critical. If you don't shut it down now, there won't be anything left of this planet, or us. Ryle wiped the sweat from his brow, glancing at Thalrock. We have to work together to solve this. Your people know more about these ancient systems. Help me decode this. Thalrock's expression remained stern, but there was no denying the urgency in his eyes. He stepped forward, his fingers moving over the alien console with precision. This technology is older than any of us, but I understand its core structure. The problem is, we don't have access to all the systems. The defenses have locked us out. Ryle clenched his fist. Can we bypass it? Possibly, Thalrock said, his brow furrowed. But it's risky. If we make the wrong move, we could trigger the weapon's full activation. As they worked, Ilara's voice came back over the comms. Commander, I've been analyzing the power signatures. There's something strange. It looks like this weapon was designed to target specific life forms. I'm seeing traces of genetic coding embedded in the energy matrix. The weapon's not just a bomb, it's a precision killer. Ryle's eyes widened. You mean it can target individual species? Exactly, Ilara confirmed. It was built to annihilate entire populations down to the genetic level, and it's attuned to the Varixol and the humans. Thalrock stiffened. If that's true, we're both in danger. The weapon will recognize us as threats. We need to disable the targeting system first, Ryle said. Otherwise, shutting down the power won't help. Thalrock nodded. I'll handle the targeting system. You focus on cutting off the power. As the two leaders worked side by side, their teams outside the core room were facing a fierce battle. Kothar's rogue Varixol forces had regrouped and launched a full assault on the humans and loyal Varixol soldiers. Explosions rocked the ruins as both sides clashed, laser fire lighting up the dark corridors. Lieutenant Varin led the human forces, shouting orders as they tried to hold the line. Keep them back. We just need to buy time for the commander to shut down the weapon. Varin ducked behind a piece of rubble, narrowly avoiding a blast from one of Kothar's men. The situation was desperate, but there was no choice but to fight on. Humanity's survival depended on it. Back in the control room, Ryle and Thalrock continued their work, sweat pouring down their faces as they struggled to keep pace with the rapidly ticking clock. The countdown was down to 5 minutes. Got it, Thalrock shouted. The targeting system is offline. Ryle grinned, relief flooding through him. Good, now for the power. But before they could make the final shutdown, the room was rocked by an explosion. Kothar had breached the control room, flanked by his rogue soldiers. His eyes burned with fury as he stormed in, weapons drawn. This ends now, human, Kothar roared, aiming his blaster at Ryle. Ryle moved quickly, drawing his own sidearm, but before he could react, Thalrock stepped between them, his broad frame blocking the shot. You dare defy the will of the Varixol, Kothar sneered. You side with these invaders. Thalrock's voice was calm, but filled with authority. I side with survival. The humans are not the threat. You are, Kothar. You let your hatred blind you. Kothar hesitated, his weapon trembling in his hand. The humans will destroy us all. They must be stopped. Ryle raised his weapon, his eyes locked on Kothar. This isn't about humans or Varixol anymore. This is about stopping a weapon that will wipe us all out. Kothar's face twisted in rage, but before he could fire, Thalrock acted. With lightning speed, the general disarmed him, twisting the blaster out of Kothar's hand and tossing him to the ground. There will be justice for your treachery, Thalrock said coldly, but first we end this. With Kothar incapacitated, Ryle and Thalrock returned to the console. The final steps to deactivate the weapon were complex, but together they managed to sever the power link just as the countdown reached its final minute. The hum of the weapon faded, and the room fell silent. The towering structure, which had been moments away from unleashing destruction, powered down completely. We did it, Ryle whispered, leaning back and breathing deeply. Thalrock nodded, his expression softening for the first time. For now, we are safe. With the weapon deactivated and the rogue Varixol forces subdued, there was a tense calm over the ruins of Kana 3. The joint human and Varixol forces gathered outside the ancient tower, their numbers reduced, but their resolve unbroken. Ilara Finn approached Ryle and Thalrock, a tablet in her hand. "Commander, I've been analyzing the data we collected from the weapons core. There's something you need to see." Ryle and Thalrock looked at each other before following Ilara into the makeshift command center. She pulled up a series of holographic displays showing ancient records that had been buried deep within the weapon's memory banks. "These aren't just schematics," Ilara said, her voice full of wonder. "They're historical records, records of the species that built this weapon. They called themselves the Ilarian Empire." Thalrock's eyes narrowed. The Ilarian Empire was a myth. Ilara shook her head. "Not a myth. They were real. And there's more." She pointed to one of the displays. "According to these records, the Ilarian Empire didn't just build this weapon. They built it after studying us." Ryle blinked in confusion. "What do you mean, studying us?" "The Ilarian Empire encountered humanity long ago, before we even reached the stars. They watched as we fought wars on our own planet, as we struggled and survived against impossible odds. They saw something in us, a kind of determination, a resilience that they believed was unique to humans." Thalrock crossed his arms, "And they built their weapon based on this." Ilara nodded. "Yes, they modeled it after the traits they saw in humanity: the strength to endure, the will to fight, and the ability to rise from the ashes. They called us the gods of war." Ryle was silent for a moment, letting the weight of her words sink in. "They built a weapon that reflected what they saw in us." Ilara smiled softly. "Not just that, they revered us. In their final days, the Ilarian Empire believed that humanity was destined to become something greater, something beyond mere mortals. They feared us, but they also admired us." Thalrock's gaze shifted to Ryle. "So this weapon, this entire planet, was a monument to the power they saw in your kind." Ryle's eyes narrowed. "And the Variksol? You knew about this?" Thalrock nodded slowly. "We suspected. The ancient wars that tore through this part of the galaxy were fueled by fear of what humans could become. The Variksol believed that if humanity ever reached its full potential, it could either save the galaxy or destroy it." Ryle stood tall, his gaze steely. "We're not here to destroy. We're here to survive, just like you." Thalrock studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps the Variksol were wrong. Perhaps there is more to humans than war." The two leaders stood in silence for a moment, the ruins of Kana 3 stretching out before them, a testament to both the dangers and the promise of humanity's future. As the human ships prepared to depart, leaving behind the ancient secrets of Kana 3, Ryle couldn't help but reflect on the title the ancient empire had given them, the gods of war. It was a reminder of the strength that lay within his people, but also a warning of what could happen if they strayed too far from their path. Ilara's voice broke his thoughts. "Commander, do you think they were right? About us?" Ryle smiled faintly. "We'll decide that for ourselves, one battle at a time." As the stars stretched out before them, humanity's journey continued, not as conquerors, but as survivors, protectors, and perhaps one day something more.